Okay, so today we're talking about rounding decimals, okay? As you can see, it doesn't say EM, 1 point whatever, so that means we're not working from Eureka Math. Today's lesson is from a different kind of book, but it doesn't matter, it's the same concept. So your learning goal is to be able to use what you already know about place value to round decimals to any place, to a given place value, okay? And before we talk about how to solve this problem, let's talk about what does rounding mean? What is rounding? Does it mean cutting the corners so they're not square anymore or making them into circles? No. What does rounding mean? So rounding has to do with estimation. I agree. It's talking about which number a given number is closer to. So right now, if we're talking about rounding to the nearest hundredth of an inch, which place value are we concerned with? The what place? Wait, we're trying to find out what's the closest hundredth of an inch because it says hundredth. So let's first figure out where the hundredth is by writing our number on a place value chart. So even if you didn't solve it this way, I want you to draw yourself a place value chart. Okay, so 386 thousandths, there it is on a place value chart. Where's the hundredths place? So we can see that the 8 is in the hundredths place. On a number line, if I were to draw a number line, and this is 0, and this is 1, is 386 thousandths bigger than 1 or less than 1?
Less than 1.
And is it greater than 0 or less than 0?
Greater.
Okay, so 0.386 might be here, right? Okay. Now, if I'm just looking at the hundredths place, the eighths place, where the 8 digit is, what's the closest hundredths that's to the left of 0.386? It'd be 0.3 what? 8. And what's the closest one that's to the right? 0.39. So when we're rounding, we're looking to see if our given number, 0.386, is closer to 0.38 or 0.39. And we look at the thousandths place to decide. What's right in the between 0.38 and 0.39? What's right in the middle? 0.385. If 0.385 is right in the middle, is 0.386 bigger or smaller than the midpoint?
Bigger.
So does that mean it's closer to 0.39 or 0.38?
0.39.
Very good. And that's what rounding is. You're seeing if it's closer to the lower end or the higher end. Okay? And it's okay if that seems confusing right now. We're going to talk about it in just a little bit. But the answer to this problem then would be 0.39 what? Inches. Okay? We're going to practice finding the midpoint. So write in your notebook, find the midpoint. So in your notebook, you're writing find the midpoint, and then you're writing 0 ones and 10 ones, and then you're drawing a little number line for yourself. Okay? Now, if on one end of our number line we have 0 ones, how do I write that in standard form? Is it just 0?
Yep.
Okay, and then what's 10 ones in standard form?
10.
What's right in the middle of 0 and 10? What's the midpoint? 5. So if I have a number that is, for instance, 7, it would be right here, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So is it closer to 10 or closer to 0?
10.
So if we're estimating or rounding, would we say 7 is closer to 10 or closer to 0? 10. So 7 rounds to what number? 10. What if I have a number like 3? Is that closer to 0 or closer to 10?
0.
So 3 rounds to what number?
0.
If 3 is closer to 0, what number does it round to? 0. Okay. Now, let's look at the next number line. This time we have 0 ones and 1 1. Draw yourself a number line. How do I write 0 ones in standard form? 0. So on one end of our number line we have a 0. On the other end we have 1 1. Wait a second. 1 1. Can I write that as using a different place value? If I want to make 1 1 10 somethings, it would be 10 whats?
10.
Could I call 1 1 10 tenths?
Yeah.
Okay. Could I call 0 ones 0 tenths too?
Yeah.
Okay, so now on your number line on one side, on the left side, I want you to write 0 tenths. And on the right side, I want you to write 10 tenths. Now, what's right in the middle of 0 tenths and 10 tenths? What's the midpoint? What's right in the middle? Akshay?
5 tenths.
5/10. And how do I write 5/10 in standard form? 0.5. Okay, so let me ask you a question. If I have a number like 0.7, where would it be on the number line? Jithia, come on up and show us. If I have 0.7, where will it be on the second number line? 0.7 would be right about here. So if I wanted to round 0.7 to the nearest ones place, would it be closer to 10/10 or 0/10?
10 tenths.
Another word for 10/10 is what?
1.
1. So 7/10 rounded to the nearest 1 is 1. Okay, what if I had 3/10? Where would 3/10 be on this number line? Arvin, can you come up and show us? So if 3/10 is here, I want to round it to the nearest 1. Would it be closer to 0/10 or to 10/10, which is the same as 1? It's closer to.
0 tenths.
So do you see how rounding is just seeing if it's closer to one end of the number line or the next end of the number line?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try one more. Get ready to write this in your notebook too. This time we have 0.9 and 1. Those are what's on the two ends of our number lines. So go ahead and write 0.9 over here and 1 over here. Now, 0.9, how do we say that in word form?
9 tenths.
It could be 9/10. Could it be 90 somethings?
90 hundredths.
Okay, let's call it right under where you wrote 0.9, write 90 hundredths. I know you can't see, but can you write 90 hundredths? Okay. And then, over here, 1 is the same as how many tenths?
10
10 tenths, which is the same as how many hundredths?
100.
So can we write right under it 100 hundredths?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's right in the middle of 90 hundredths and 100 hundredths? What's right in the middle? What's the midpoint of 90 hundredths and 100 hundredths? Gia?
95 hundredths.
95 hundredths. You got it. Okay. And how do I write 95 hundredths in standard form? Ritvik? 0.95. Okay. 97 hundredths would be right about here. And so is it closer to 100 hundredths or 90 hundredths?
100 hundredths.
So 97 hundredths rounds to 100 hundredths or 1. Similarly, if we had, let's say, 93 hundredths, do you agree that it would be right around here?
Yeah.
So which end of the number line is it closer to, 90 hundredths or 100 hundredths?
90 hundredths.
So 93 hundredths rounds to 90 hundredths or 9/10. Now, if it's asking us to round this number to the nearest hundredth of an inch, we need to set up a number line. So go ahead and draw yourself a number line. And we need a low end and a high end before we can even think about a midpoint. So if we're thinking about the nearest hundredth, what's the closest hundredth that would be lower than 437 thousandths? Jonathan? 400,000, would that give us a hundredths place or just a tenths place? So what's the closest? Remember, we're thinking about the hundredths.
43.
So how many hundredths would be on the lower end of our number line? Everyone?
43 hundredths.
Okay, so on one end of your number line, write 43 hundredths. Now, what would be on the upper end? Like, we want to sandwich our number, right? We want our 437 thousandths to be sandwiched by the endpoints. So if the lower hundredths is 43 hundredths, what's 100th more than that? Everyone?
44.
Okay, so on the upper end of your number line, write 44 hundredths. Now, we can think of 43 hundredths as being 430 thousandths, can't we?
Yeah.
And 440 thousandths is our upper end, right? So let's find our midpoint. What would be right in the middle between 430 thousandths and 440 thousandths? Ari?
0.435.
435 thousandths. Do you agree that that's right in the middle?
Yes.
Now what we need to do is we need to look at our number, 437, and where would it be on the number line? Well, it's more than 435, so I think it would be right around here. 437. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Now on our number line, which end is it closer to? 440 or 430?
440.
So it rounds to 44 hundredths of an inch. Do you see how that works? Okay. Let's try it again, but this time it's asking us to the nearest tenth. Okay, so go ahead and draw yourself a number line. And remember, we're going to need a low end and a high end. Okay, if my low end is 0.4, what's going to be the high end of my number line? Eva?
0.5.
You got it. And it's always just going to be one more in that place value, huh? Now, it's hard for me to find the midpoint between 4 and 5, so I always like to rename it. 4/10 is the same as 40 what's? Hundredths. Okay. Spelled that wrong. Okay, 5/10 is the same as what? 50 hundredths, right? So what's right in the middle between 40 hundredths and 50 hundredths? Stella? Think right. What's right in the middle between 40 and 50? 45. And what place value are we talking about? 45? Good. So 45 hundredths is like that, isn't it? So that's in the middle. Now our number is 437 thousandths. Where would that be on our number line? Kish, can you come show us? Where would that be on our number line?
That would be somewhere here.
Okay, thank you. We're down here, but very good. So it'd be 400. So is it closer to the lower end or to the upper end?
Lower end.
So therefore, 437 thousandths rounded to the nearest tenth of an inch is how many inches?
0.4.
Inches. Very good. Okay.